بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم نحمده ونصلي على رسوله الكريم أما بعد. Today is going to be the last chapter of the textbook, last chapter of the semester, the class, but not actually last class of the semester, right? So there are a couple of classes still available, so hopefully you will be joining the class. So this is the prohibited elements in transactions. Yes, earlier we discussed, I think almost we finished the theory of contracts. We discussed the three pillars. We discussed the purpose and effect. We discussed the conditions, the classifications of contract. We discussed the options, khiyar, and also we discussed the termination. So this chapter is actually a supporting chapter for what you learned earlier, right? Whether it is related to contracts or related to ownership or related to property or rights, all those things are related, of course. Not only that, this this chapter is going to be also related when you come for the next semester. I think most of you will take Fiqh for Economists 2, right? There's one more. There's actually 3 Fiqh for Economists, 1, 2, 3. So this is the first one. Those who go for the second one, I think this is the chapter is going to be the first chapter for you to start with the next Fiqh for Economics 2. So here we are going to talk about what are those elements, what are those prohibited elements. We agree that there are 3 pillars. If it is completed, you actually can conclude any contract, right? Then we talked about the irada batiniya and zahiriya. What about the conditions? Is there any conditions that I can make or I cannot make? What are the conditions that Sharia has stipulated? What about the conditions that parties can also stipulate those conditions? We discussed all this, everything, and then we discussed what kind of contracts and classification. Then we discussed, okay, I finished, I have all these 3 pillars and also the conditions. Is it my contract is binding or not binding? Usually the contracts are binding unless if you have options. If you have a couple of options to practice, let's say you say, for example, I want to keep the options for 3 days, then your contract is not going to be binding until that 3 days expires, right? But now we are going to talk about what are, because there is one we always discussed in each and every sub-chapters, subtopics of the theory of contracts, that it should be clear from prohibited elements. Whether we talked about valid and invalid, whether we talked about void or irregular, the terms comes like this: sahih, batil, or fasid. So in each and every places that we discussed, we always talk about that it should be away from the prohibited elements, right? If there's a prohibited elements, then I think whether you have 3 pillars completed or you have the purpose and effect completed, cleared, even though your conditions are there, cleared, right? But if it is a prohibited elements, no, you cannot actually continue the transaction. So now we are going to talk about those prohibited elements, because time to time Allah trying to say that you do not devour your property among yourself unlawfully. So use it properly, do not use it unlawfully. So Allah says, Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu لا تأكلوا أموالكم بينكم بالباطل. See, Allah says the word correctly. Allah says, do not eat, do not have your
unlawfully bil batil. La ta'kulu, the literal meaning of akal is actually something to eat. Allah says, do not eat unlawfully. It doesn't mean that only a literal meaning of eating, it is also buying. Whether I buy my phone, right, it also comes under la ta'kulu bainakum bil batil. Right, I want to buy a shoe, I want to buy a dress, a garments, or the vehicle, everything comes under this la ta'kulu amwalakum bainakum bil batil. Then Allah said, okay, what is the right way of doing the right thing? How do you do that? Illa an takuna tijaratan an taradin minkum. But let there be among you trade by mutual consent. Right? You must have that trade. All right, you go, you are walking and you saw something you like and you want to eat it. Do not go and grab it and eat it. You do the tijara on it. You really want to eat that apple? Okay, you have to pay something in order to get that apple. You have to do something on mutual consent. Let's say you say, I have 5 ringgit. Can I get that apple? If he agree with your 5 ringgit, then the apple is yours. If you have 1 ringgit and you show him and he is not happy with your 1 ringgit, then it is not yours. Right? That is why tijara should be there. But that tijara, that sale based on mutual consent, that is very important in this place. All right. Okay. So that is the first Quranic verse that I want to tell you. The another Quranic verse as well. وَلَا تَأْكُلُوا أَمْوَالَكُمْ بَيْنَكُمْ بِالْبَاطِلِ وَتُدْلُوا بِهَا إلى الحكام لتأكلوا فريقا من أموال الناس بالإثم وأنتم تعلمون. This is another verse. Allah says that devour not one another's possessions wrongfully. Right? The same thing. وَلَا تَأْكُلُوا أَمْوَالَكُمْ بَيْنَكُمْ بِالْبَاطِلِ and neither employ illegal artifices with a view to devouring sinfully and knowingly anything that by right belongs to others. Right? You see here, do not make anybody working for you in unlawful way. Meaning to say that do not put someone in a place and then you make him ask him to do favor to you. Exactly. Because what happens that the politicians usually, this is what the game is all about. You make me, you choose me as a leader, and then I will do everything for you. Right? You vote for me, and then I will give you this contract. You vote for me, I will open this place for you. Right? So these are the things that Allah says long time ago. Allah said, وَتُدْلُوا بِهَا إِلَى الْحُكَّامِ لِتَأْكُلُوا فَرِيقًا مِّنْ أَمْوَالِ النَّاسِ بِالْإِثْمِ. So this is what Allah says, do not eat sinfully. Because when you are doing such thing, you are not eating the food, actually you are eating the ism. Ism means sin. Right? And another verse Allah says, فَبِظُلْمٍ مِّنَ الَّذِينَ هَادُوا حَرَّمْنَا عَلَيْهِمْ طَيِّبَاتٍ أُحِلَّتْ لَهُمْ وَبِصَدِّهِمْ عَنْ سَبِيلِ اللَّهِ كَثِيرًا وَأَخْذِهِمُ الرِّبَا فَقَدْ نُهُوا عَنْهُ وَأَكْلِهِمْ أَمْوَالَ النَّاسِ بِالْبَاطِلِ وَأَعْتَدْنَا لِلْكَافِرِينَ مِنْهَا عَذَابًا أَلِيمًا. Right? For the inquiry of the, because the Jew used to ask this question, and then Allah says, for the inquiry of the Jews, we made unlawful for them certain foods and goods and wholesome which had been lawful for them. There are few things that Allah has prohibited for them, right? And then there are many things Allah has opened for them. It's not like Allah has opened only few. If you see, if you look into haram things, because most of the things are halal except few things, right? Allah said don't do this, don't do that. That's why we discussed this during the maxims, legal maxims, saying that every single thing is halal unless Quran and Hadith says that this is haram, right? Then it becomes haram. Other than that, always everything is halal. The same thing Allah says about the Jews. Allah says that we made unlawful for them certain things and wholesome, which had been lawful for them, in that they hindered many from Allah's ways. Right? What they have done, Allah has given this opportunity for them, but they took usuri, though they were forbidden. It was actually forbidden, it was prohibited, but وَأَخْذِهِمُ الرِّبَى. They've been using this riba, which is one of the prohibited things. وَأَكْلِهِمْ أَمْوَالِ النَّاسِ بِالْبَاطِلِ. They've been using the public finance, أَمْوَالُ النَّاسِ, the public finance, whatever the common, the communal wealth, we call it, the common wealth for everybody, that actually have to use it, whether it is a public items, public wealth. And they've been using actually what they've been using it, they've been eating those kind of things. This is what Allah says, that this thing is, that thing is to do, that thing is pretty much prohibited. You cannot do that. يا أيها الذين آمنوا إن كثيرا من الأحبار والرهبان لا يأكلون أموال الناس بالباطل. Allah keep on saying that even the ulama, there are few ulama of Jews and few ulama of the Christians, right? Today we call them fathers. There are few fathers those days where actually also you can rabbis, and we can call it a rabbi. It's actually the ulama, the ustaz in a Jew. They were called rabbis, and then fathers, you can call them in the priest or fathers in Christianity. So these are the people, they were, some of them actually يأكلون أموال الناس بالباطل, because people used to make them as a people of in charge. They've been responsible for those kind of things. But what happened? They are the one who actually started eating everything in the unlawful way. So so clearly what you can see here is actually you need to understand that first of all you need to understand what means batil, because all these verses that gives you the meaning, the prohibition is all consistently, it's giving you the prohibition of batil. Then you need to understand what exactly batil. Batil could be usuri, gambling, ambiguity, giving short measures, right? Taking something without giving something, without giving any compensation, al-iwad. You don't give any iwad, then it becomes also unlawful, which is batil. The batil also refers to cheating, fraud, bribery, rashwa or rashwa in Arabic. It is also a kind of batil things to do. Breaching the trust, it's a batil thing to do. All right, taking another people's property through misinformation. You give them the wrong information and you take their properties. It is also batil. All right, and then any transaction covers any haram things is also batil. So with this regard, in our class, upcoming classes, including this class, we are going to talk about these four elements, right? I gave you the introduction to the batil. I gave you a few Quranic verses on batil. Now I am going to talk about the four elements that has cause. These four elements are the causes that are going to invalidate any transaction. All right. So these are the four causes. The first one is usuri, we call a riba. Number two is ambiguity, gharar. Number three is gambling, maisir. Number four is prohibited properties. It is not only haram is what you actually supposed to consume. Uh, it is also supposed to sell. The items that we are selling also going to become prohibited properties. So we are going to talk about these four. Let us start first, talk about Usury. Right? All right. When it comes to interest, riba, I think most of you know the word riba, right? Many verses in Quran and Hadith talks about riba. This riba has two variations, two varieties of riba that we are going to talk about. The first one is riba on credit, which is riba al-Nasee'ah. The second one is actually riba on cash, riba al-Fadl. All right. Trying to understand these two riba, there are some differences. Both of them prohibited. Both of them related to usuri, related to interest, what we call today. But you need to understand the differences between, because that differences in between will help you understand the modern kind of interest. Whether we call it today, we call it many names. Today it's become almost impossible, but only Islamic economics and Islamic banking and finance is actually giving you the opportunity to live interest free banking. Only these industries like Islamic finance and Islamic banking and Islamic economics is actually making yourself, making your financial life into no interest zone, right? La riba, right? Riba less, riba less zone, life zone. Yeah. So this is how we are actually living, because we have so many financial matters that we are going through in our life, and you need to understand these two things first in order to understand what exactly the conventional economics and then the conventional finances is actually bringing this interest. Yeah. Okay. Basically, riba means usuri, and when Allah talks about riba, He said, "Ahallallahu al-bay'a wa harrama riba." All right. So Allah said, "We permit." Allah permits trade, and Allah prohibits usuri. All right. So you need to understand, why is it Allah said these two things together? أحل الله البيع وحرم الربا. Why these two things must come together? What exactly is the reason? In order to find out, you must go back to Quran and start from the beginning of the surah, beginning of the verse at least. So because what I told you right now, it is actually not a separate, it is not actually a separate verse, it is actually a part of the verse. So in order to have a proper understanding on any verse, any Quranic verse, you need to go back to Quran and see yourself the beginning, the previous verse, and the following verse, because the verse always interconnected. In this case, if you ask me what is the beginning of the verse, I would say الذين يأكلون الربا. It comes in Surah Al-Baqarah, verse number starting from 275. All right. Yeah. So now Allah say, Allah الذين يأكلون الربا لا يقومون إلا كما يقوم الذي يتخبطه الشيطان من المس ذلك بأنهم قالوا إنما البيع مثل الربا. Look at it. So this is where you need to understand, because you see, I don't want you to hate riba because riba is haram, because Allah made it haram. I didn't want you to just hate riba because Allah made it haram. I want you to understand what exactly riba is, how bad is actually riba, and why this riba is actually prohibited. Ah, when it comes, okay, this is how you're actually going to learn the philosophy of the prohibition in riba, right? So now, if you look at this Quranic verse, Allah talks about a certain group of people, those who devour Usury, الذين يأكلون الربا, the one who eats riba, the money, the wealth of riba, the wealth of interest. لا يقومون إلا كما يقوم الذي يتخبطه الشيطان من المس, will not stand except as stands one whom the evil one by his touch hath driven to madness. It's like, when someone is actually intoxicated and getting up with madness, don't know what's happening. Or it's like, someone suddenly woke up from the sleep and don't know what's happening around. Or maybe someone mesmerized somebody. I hope you have seen some of this, some like that. When people are mesmerized by whether it is black magic or kind of stuff, maybe like tricks. I think you have seen some magic shows. People show you some magic and then people all of a sudden they surprised to see him there, and then they will be asking, how did he do that, right? But if you keep on playing the video again and again and again, you will get away. You will understand, okay, this is the trick, he has done this. It's a kind of muss. It's called muss. Muss means the evil one comes and touch someone and then he mesmerized by it. So the one who actually eats a riba, he becomes like that. I think the perfect example can be given. People have wealth. People have a filthy. People are filthy rich. They don't know how to spend their money. I think a couple of interesting examples. I think you will be seeing. People have more money, more money. They don't know what to do. They do all sort of things. They gone mad. They gone mad. They fly all the money, and then sometimes they do all sort of things. This kind of thing. So people, they don't understand. They don't really, when they have a lot of money. So when you are sitting at home and then you are getting free money, and if you are getting free money without any effort, that's actually, that is a kind of that could be one kind of interest money. So people who get that kind of interest, that kind of that kind of income, then they are look like يتخبطه الشيطان من المس. ذلك بأنهم. Now let me bring you the reason, the real reason why Allah said that word together. أحل الله البيع وحرم الربا. The real reason that even though they are touched by the evil one, they are mesmerized by the magicians, right? They are they have been tricked by the genius people. They've been surprised by the stock managers. Whatever it is, you can bring any examples. They are mesmerized by them. They are tricked by them. They are surprised by them. So those people, they are actually giving you a justification. What? Because they are now getting the money out of nothing. The money is making money, right? The money is actually what? Making more money. So it's like, money makes money, right? Money is actually give birth to another money. So they are now coming up with a justification saying that إنما البيع مثل الربا. The trade that you are doing, the trade is like usury. They say what we are doing in interest business, in the what we are doing in this show is actually a kind of business. So if you go and ask any conventional bank, so I can clearly say this because any bank you go and you ask, why are you charging the interest? So tell me what are the answers they are going to give you? What kind of answers do you think that they will give you? They will be saying it is a business. They will be saying you use our money. They will be saying We are renting our money. So now, when they say we are renting our money, they will be justifying you that, okay, if I have my car, can I rent my car to you? Can I rent my car to you and take the money out of renting? Yes. Can I rent my house to you and take money out of renting? Yes. Can I rent my hall, or maybe marriage hall, or maybe the classrooms, or maybe anything that can be rent out? Can I get the money out of renting? Yes. Then they will become with the justification saying that, then why not money? Okay. So money, if other things, if anything is actually can be rent out and then can take usuri, can take interest out of it, then why not money? See that? So they give you the justification. Exactly. This is what Allah says. Allah says, they will say, qalu, they will say, innamal bay'u mithlu riba. Then Allah says, remember, we know, we know your tactics. Remember, we know who you are. We know how do you think. We know how you bring this justification. You are getting money. You don't want to get stopped. You don't want to stop your money. That's the reason why you are giving us the reasons. Right? Sometimes it happens, right? When certain things that we don't do, we always give excuse. We say that because of this. Why are you late? Because I was coming on the way. There was a traffic. There was a this. There was a that. Yeah, of course, there are true story. There are also not true story. So excuses. People give excuses. So Allah says that we know what kind of excuses you give. Because we created you, because we know what kind of excuses. Allah says clearly, أحل البيع. Trading we permits, riba we prohibit. Riba cannot be trade. Remember that, because trade is something that you do in between commodities, in between usable items. Renting, that you do something between usable items, not perishable items. Money, you cannot rent money because money is not a usable item. Money is a perishable item. Because once you used it, you are not going to pay the same money to somebody. It will be some other money. That's why it is perishable. It comes under similar property. It comes under perishable property. It will never come under dissimilar property. It will never come under usable property, right? So it is not possible. And then out of money, no one is using the money. Like remember when Imam Ghazali was saying this, Imam Ghazali said, money, the only use of money is actually is a medium of exchange. Because am I going to eat money? Am I going to consume money? No, because money is just a medium of exchange. It is just made because we don't have to carry the stuff in order to exchange other stuff. Long time ago, people do barter exchange when they don't have money. They will, for example, if I have a cotton, I bring a kilo of cotton and then I go and give it to somebody so that I can get a kilo of wheat, right? So day by day, the one who used to give me the wheat, he doesn't need my cotton anymore. Now I have problem. How am I supposed to get the wheat? Then the money came into a position, become the medium of exchange, and I go and I sell my cotton to somebody and I get the money. And then I take this money and I go to somebody who needs my money so that I can get the wheat from him. So it becomes the money has become what? Medium of exchange. Yeah. So further you will be reading whether it is the measurement of whether it's a measurement, whether it is the restoration of value. So these are the things, of course, you are going to learn more in the next couple of classes and also next couple of semesters. Of course, you are going to learn all this, but I want you to give you the basic idea of interest, the basic idea of money. Remember that all the time. So Allah said this, أَحَلَّ اللَّهُ الْبَيْعَ وَحَرَّمَ الرِّبَى. Because when I give you the wheat and I take money from you, or when I give you the money and I take the wheat from you, the wheat or sugar or rice from you, then we both have some mutual consent on based on mutual exchanging the core values, right? But how am I supposed to give you the money and then take the money back from you, right? Because when I give you the money, you are supposed to pay me back exactly the same thing. Then it becomes qarad. It's become debt. So that is fine because it's qarad, qarad hasan is okay. But when I give you the money and then I take from you 100 ringgit extra, but let's say I give you 1,000, I want you giving me back 1,100, then I consume that money. I'm not actually using it for the business. If you use it for the business, it's a different thing. It comes under musharaka mudaraba, which you will also learn in next classes and next semesters. But now I need money for my own consumption. And then I take money from you, $1,000, 1,000 ringgit, and then I have to pay you back 1,100. Then that additional 100 is actually becoming interest because I and you, we cannot rent the money. Because money is not something that can usable unless you have car, unless you have properties, unless you have your phone or your accommodation unit. Those things can be usable, can be used for the usage, for the purpose of usage. Actually, you can actually pay back some sort of token of appreciation, some sort of ijara is possible on those, but never happen on money, right? Allah says in next verses again, يَمْحَقُ اللَّهُ الرِّبَى وَيُرْبِي الصَّدَقَاتِ وَاللَّهُ لَا يُحِبُّ كُلَّ كَفَّارٍ أَثِيمٍ. Allah says this riba is actually, it will actually, the riba, yes, the riba will be destroyed. This is what Allah says. Excuse me.
Excuse me, Ustad.
Yes, please.
I just wanted to ask if one of the reasons for the prohibition of riba is the lack of mutual consent. Is it because one person is exploiting the other person, earning off the other person's need? Is that one of the reasons why? Because there isn't mutual consent. He's not willingly paying that interest. Is that one of the reasons?
Yes, you are right. You are right. You know, there is one thing here. I just want to clarify. Thank you for the question. Because you may tell me, some of you may come and tell me, mutual consent is there. Because when I go and ask for the loan, when I go and ask for, for when I want to do the transaction of the riba, maybe I give you my consent that I am ready to pay that 100 extra. Maybe I give you my consent. But this mutual consent is not based on the mutual benefit. It's not going to be the mutual benefit unless if the mutual benefit is like this. I give you my money and you use my money to do business. Because I'm giving you my money and you are using my money on business transaction. And behind it, what's happening is actually we are using that money in order to gain something. Then later we share the profit. So here, it is not actually for the consumption. Here it is for the business purpose. This is how the loans are working. Right now, for example, you go and you apply for education loan. You apply for you apply for business loan, right? The bank is going to ask you what kind of business you are going to make. Show us the sample, show us that you have the expertise, right? If you are good enough in showing those things, then they will be giving you the loan, and then they will become the mudarib. They will become one of the mudarib, and you will become the expertise in that field. So when it comes to the profits after all the sale, sorry, the expenses, after all the expenses, the profit must be shared between this. So now, yes, I'm coming back to your question. Yes, you are right. It has to be based on mutual consent. Also, it has to be based on mutual benefit. Yeah, you got it?
Yes, sir.
Yes, you are right. You are right. Please ask me if you have any questions. Seems like it's pretty important aspect as well, because I think remember this this yes, because this one is going to help you for your entire study here. If you have the valid foundation on riba, on money, time, and value, I think it will help you your entire journey in this faculty. I think that's the reason why I want you to understand clearly what exactly money in Islamic perspective, right? What exactly riba, right? Of course, you will be learning more when it comes to riba on credit and riba al-Fadl, all right? But if you have any questions, you can stop me, all right? Okay, riba on cash. Sorry, I went to riba on cash. I should be starting from riba on credit. Yes, number one is actually riba on credit. Okay, what does it mean? This riba on credit in Arabic is called riba al-Nasee'ah, refers to a stipulated increase over the loan, which a debtor agrees to pay to his creditor in relation of a specific period of time. I think this one is what actually has been in practice for so many years. You borrow some money from me, and then I ask you to pay after 1 month. If you fail to pay in 1 month, the next day you have to pay 10% extra, right? So this is a stipulated increase over the loan, which a debtor agrees to pay to his creditor in relation of a specific period of time. So here, whether you are the one who pays the interest, whether you are the one who collects the interest, both of them actually prohibited. Right? It is a fixed charge payable by the borrower to the lender, irrespective of what the loan money produces. Whether the money produces or not, irrespective of it. So it's a kind of fixed charge. If it is there, it's a kind of riba. Thus, any gain that comes from a loan transaction is become usurious, right? This kind of riba and nasi'ah is actually prohibited by the Quran. I think just now I recited the Quranic verse to you, right? إنما البيع مثل الربا وحل الله البيع وحرم الربا, right? Also, Prophet ﷺ said that he cursed, Prophet ﷺ cursed the acceptor of interest, akilur riba, and its payers, mukilur riba, right? Acceptor mukil, payer akil, and one who records it, musajjil, and also shahid, the one who to witnesses. Yeah, they're all equal. See, even though it's an action of one, but whoever related to that action, whoever within that circle of action, Prophet said they are all equal. This is the very important hadith in Bukhari and Muslim. It uh, clearly mentions that anyone who do this, they are going to get the same amount of sin, the same amount of punishment, whether you are writing it, whether you are there to give some sort of witnesses, whether you buy, whether you sell, whether you want to collect the interest, not paying the interest, right? Everyone's same. This is the most important hadith, right? Riba usually arises when the parties to a certain transaction deal with properties which are perishable and homogeneous. Yeah, homogeneous, I told you last time, it was a similar means homogeneous. Dissimilar is non-homogeneous. Also perishable, I told you just now. The other ones, the opposite of perishable is what? Usable. All right. So now gold, silver, money, dates, salt, etc. While lending these properties, the creditor is not allowed to charge the debtor for their use. In contrast, a person may charge another for the use of his usable property, such as house or car, their future benefit. You see now clearly here usable items like a car, like a house, whatever the items are usable, meaning to say that you give it to somebody and he use it and he can return back to you. For the usage, you can collect some rental for it. But you gave to somebody gold, somebody silver, somebody money and dates, salt, sugar, whatever it is. Because these are the things that once consumed is gone already. You are not going to give the same thing again. All right. Let's say I give you 100 ringgit. You are going to consume it. You are going to use it. You are going to return back to me 100 ringgit for the next day or maybe next week. Are you going to give me the same 100 ringgit that you borrow from me? Is it possible? It's not possible, right? It is not possible that you will be bringing back to me the same 100 ringgit that I gave you last week, because you have to break it into tens or into fives. It is impossible for you to give me back the same money. So, which means that it is called perishable. Right? Okay. Question. A question may arise that if a person can charge another for the use of his house, why he shouldn't charge him for the use of his money? Exactly. This is what the real question that banks are using. Why cannot charge? The answer is house and money belong to two different types of properties. House is a usable property and money is a perishable property. Remember, perishable. All right. Perishable cannot be rent out, and if anything that you cannot rent out, that will comes under riba. All right. For example, a person who uses his money to buy a computer cannot use the same money to buy another thing. It will be different money, right? That is what I wanted to. The same applies to other homogeneous properties such as rice, sugar, and oil. For example, I borrow 1 kilo sugar today. All right. I had no sugar in my house. I borrow 1 kilo of sugar, and I promise. I said that okay, I will return you back after 2 days after I go back to the market. Can I give you the same sugar that I borrow from you? Is it possible? Why did I borrow from you if I don't have to use the sugar? I use the sugar because I need it and I used it. Now I go and I buy exactly the same sugar, same brand or same sugar that I come and give it back to you. It's not going to be the same. Same thing goes to rice, same thing goes to oil. Yeah. So anything I added, let's say if I tell you when you return back to me the 1 kilo of sugar, make sure that you add 100 gram. So you give me 1,100 gram. 1 kilo plus 100. If I said that, it will be usury. It will be riba because I asked you extra. You got it? Assigning time value to money is equivalent to accepting that money can be rented out. Okay, this is the time value money. Furthermore, when a house is rented, it is certain that the tenant would get benefit or receive back from the house. Money, on the other hand, had to become part of an extra price and combined with efforts in order to give benefit/profit. That's what I say. Money, when it comes to consumption, is different. When it comes to part of an enterprise, is different. Right? When it comes to part of an enterprise, then the money can be used and then the profit can be shared. The money would have to be invested and there could be the possibility of profit and loss. Because now the question comes, all right, I give you the money for, let's say, not for the consumption, I give you the money for the business. Let's say I give you 100,000 ringgit. And then can I ask you in return, when you give me back, give me 10% of 100,000 ringgit? All right. The answer is no. It is possible you can ask him to give you the profit, but you cannot tell that you should give him 10% of the profit. I mean, you should give certain money, certain amount. For 100,000 ringgit, you should give me 10,000 ringgit, which is a 10%. It is not possible because the enterprise always has the possibility of profit and loss. If there's a profit, you could say you take the profit and you give me 50% of the profit, or 60% of the profit, or 40% of the profit. That one is possible. But you cannot say you should give me 10,000 ringgit. You should give me 20,000 ringgit out of 100,000. That one you cannot say because we never know how much exactly the business is going to become. Right. So we can only talk about the percentage and then we agree on it and then it becomes mudaraba. That's why it is called mujaraba. Charging an extra amount for the time, irrespective of the outcome of the enterprise, is considered injustice. Instead of renting money, Islamic law recommends profit slash loss sharing, PLS. In contrast, conventional banks in practice are renting money, not lending money. Remember this. Yeah? On what basis conventional bankings are charging interest? Because they are for renting money, not for lending money. Yeah. All right. So that one is the first category that we discussed. The second category is more interesting as well. The first category is the traditional way of understanding riba. In every community, the first category is available in every single community in the world. Wherever human is there, wherever money is there, usury is always there. Because shaitan always want to bring this. This is the destructive weapon that shaitan brings to everybody. Whenever you deal with money, there is always a desire to have more money and a desire have to earn more money. So people go for interest-based economy, right? That's why. So the first category is actually the first category is actually the very famous category. So it's money that you take on stipulated time. All right. The second category is actually suggested by Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam in Hadith. Prophet said that riba in cash, riba al-Fadl, meaning to say that when you are exchanging two things, when you are actually exchanging two commodities, make sure that it has to be equal. If you are exchanging the same commodity, you cannot exchange the same commodity for example, I give you 2 kilo of sugar today and you give me back 3 kilo of sugar tomorrow. Unacceptable. I give you 2 kilo of salt today and you give me back 3 kilo of sugar tomorrow. 3 kilo of salt, 2 kilo for 3 kilo. 2 kilo for dates, 2 kilo dates for 3 kilo dates. Cannot. Right? 2 kilo wheat for 3 kilo wheat. Cannot. Barley. So you can see that Prophet ﷺ said this hadith, and this hadith is actually, there are so many meanings for this hadith. I think this hadith is, you need to understand very clearly because most of the time this hadith is actually represented wrongly, misunderstood most of the time. We need to actually spend some time to talk about this hadith. Prophet said, "الذهب بالذهب والفضة بالفضة والبر بالبر والشعير بالشعير والتمر بالتمر والملح بالملح مثلا بمثل يدا مثلا بمثل يدا بيد فمن زاد أو استزاد فقد أربع الآخذ والمعطي فيه سواء." الآخذ. Okay. فمن زاد أو استزاد فقد أربع الآخذ والمعطي فيه سواء. So Prophet ﷺ said, This hadith was narrated by Abu Sa'id al-Khudri. Prophet ﷺ said, gold is to be paid for by gold, silver by silver, wheat by wheat, barley by barley, dates by dates, salt by salt, like by like. Remember this. After salt by salt, Prophet said, like by like, payment being made hand to hand. He who made an addition to it or asked for an addition, in fact, he dealt in usury. The receiver and the giver are equally guilty, or equally guilty. وَالْآخِذُ وَالْمُعْتِي فِيهِ سَوَاءٌ. So now this hadith, I think, gives you a several meaning. And also this hadith is actually gives you many questions. Why Prophet ﷺ talks about what exactly is the reason this hadith? Because in order to understand any hadith, I tell you, you need to find the reason, the purpose of mentioning this hadith. Why Prophet ﷺ in first place mentioned this hadith. So when you are not actually looking into the history of the hadith, I think most of you know about Quranic verses. There is a reason. It's called sabab al-nuzul. Each and every verse of the Quran has some sabab. What is the reason every Quranic verses came down? Because of this, the Quranic verse came down. That could be a partially true that it is for that, but not necessarily. You don't have to limit any Quranic verses for only for that purpose. You can also extend the purposes until today. There is nothing harm. It's always correct. But it is important for you to know, in order to understand the Quranic verses properly, it is important for you to know the reason of the revelation. The same thing comes to hadith. Most of the time we read hadith, but remember, the hadith was not compiled like a book and then given to us. It was not compiled by Prophet ﷺ, and before he died, he didn't give you the book. Okay, these are the compilation of my hadith. Take it and read it. No, he didn't do that. In fact, he also didn't do the same thing for Quranic verses. The first time the Quranic verses were compiled, it was not the during Prophet ﷺ period. After the demise of Prophet ﷺ, after the death of Prophet ﷺ, Hazrat Abu Bakr Umar, Hazrat Abu Bakr and Hazrat Umar, they wanted to compile Quranic verses so that people like us, non-Arabs, can come and read the Quran. Before that, the Quran was revealed and then it was safeguarded in each and every companions, Sahaba. They become the Hafiz. The same thing for the Quranic, the same thing for the prophetic hadith, the prophetic sunnah also. Most of the time it was the Prophet's companions are the one who remembered what Prophet ﷺ said, and then later they narrated to their students, and then their students narrated to their students, and then their students narrated to their students, and then after 5 or 6 generations, then it came to Imam Bukhari, like people like Imam Bukhari, people like Imam Muslim, people like Imam Abu Dawud, Tirmidhi. These are the people who started compiling those hadiths after at least 3 or 4 or 5 generations. Remember that. It was started, but it was not only Imam Bukhari, the one who started first. There are so many, starting from Imam Malik, rahmatullahi alayhi, who came much earlier than Imam Bukhari, right? 100 years ago, almost. I think he is the one who actually started compiling. Imam Abu Hanifa used to compile, Imam Shafi used to compile, Imam Ahmad ibn Hanbal has a musnad, right? Later only muhaddithin like Imam Bukhari. First of all, the fuqaha are the one who started compiling hadith. Later is actually the muhaddithin came. All this Imam Bukhari, Imam Muslim came later. All these imams of Abu Hanifa, Imam Malik, Imam Shafi'i, Imam Ahmad ibn Hanbal, these are the people who came first. Then only muhaddithin came. All right, remember that all the time. So the hadiths were actually in action. The hadiths were in everybody's life. The hadiths were in everybody's oral. It was orally transmitted to everybody. It was not written in the book until certain time. All right. Today, what we are learning from Bukhari is what actually compiled by Imam Bukhari, but he goes to everybody. He went to every single person to collect the hadith. He didn't go to the Sahabi. He went to the one who followed Sahabi, the one who followed Sahabi, again who followed the one who followed Sahabi. They call it Tabi'een, and the Taba'a Tabi'een. Then only comes the Muhaddithin. All right. So now this hadith that I'm telling you right now, the hadith of Zahaba bil Zahabi wal Fillatu bil Fillati. If you look into the reason why it was actually mentioned, one of the reason when I was looking, researching the hadith background, then I found that um, during Prophet ﷺ time, because not everybody knows this hadith that time. Even that time, uh, some of the companions they thought it is actually okay. It is actually allowed to um, to go for gold and for gold for more gold, little gold for more gold, little silver for more silver. I tell you the scenario how because they were started. For example, one example I can give you. After every war, they used to get a ghanima, right? You know the war spoils. When they go to any war, they used to get the sword, the shield, the armor, right? The armor, and then the different kind of, what they call it, helmet, armors, these kind of things. And when it comes to the, the the enemies, they used to bring, they use in their armors, they use gold. In their armors, they use gold and silver. So now, when it comes to Muslims side, when Muslims start winning those kind of war, they used to get those kind of armors, and then later they go to the market and they used to sell those armors because they will get the war spoils out of the ghanima, because whoever go to jihad, whoever go to war, and they get the special ghanima because of joining the war. And when they get their portions, allocated portions, then they bring those allocated portions and they want to sell. And then when people come to know that he is selling this for this amount of dinar and this amount of dirham, because dinar basically is a gold, dirham basically is a silver. Right? So now you are selling dinar, which is gold, and you are selling your armor, which has gold, because your armor is not completely gold. Your armor has a part of gold. Most of the part is actually iron or copper or something else. There are some part of your armor or your shield or your sword has a material of gold. Now you are selling that per dinar. All right. So what was happening in the market? They come and sell for a couple of dinar. Someone who want to buy, and then they take out the gold and they make, most of the gold. So the differences were there. When Prophet ﷺ came to know this, he listened to it. This is how in market they are doing. Then Prophet ﷺ said, hey, do not do that, because you are dealing with gold for gold. So if you want to sell your armor, your sword, find out how much gold in that armor. There are expertise available. They can tell you how much gold in it, and then sell that gold exactly for the same amount of gold in dinar. Because you see, dinar is a gold, and there are also gold in armor. So now armor versus dinar, right? Maybe in armor they have silver. So silvers in armor versus dirhams. So this is how Prophet ﷺ said. The most important thing as well, why Prophet especially said gold and silver, is because it was it was the medium of exchange of that time. Remember why particularly Prophet said gold and silver? Because it was the medium of exchange. Then you must be asking me now, why Prophet said wheat, barley, dates, salt? Why Prophet did not say goats, camel, fruits, vegetables? Why he didn't say fruits and vegetables? Can I sell fruits for fruits? Can I sell it? I mean, can I sell vegetables for vegetables? Can I sell two camels for one camel? If I ask you, can I sell two camels for one camel? Your answer will be no. Because for you, you are thinking that it is a kind of interest. But according to the hadith, Prophet ﷺ didn't say that camel. Because there's a reason why. Why Prophet ﷺ told you only 6 commodities? Gold, silver, wheat, barley, dates, salt. Why Prophet only said these 6 commodities after looking so many varieties of research and books and everything? So I came to with my own opinion. It's still my opinion. I look around and I thought, and then I found out that these 6 commodities actually were the medium of exchange of that time. Most of the time, what they were doing? They were doing barter exchange. So now, let's say, as I gave you example before, you want to buy a shoe or slipper. You need a slipper, but you have cotton. How you are supposed to do the business? Will you bring your cotton and give it to the slipper, the guy who sells slippers? And then the slippers guy will say, he will come and ask you, okay, I will sell my slippers, my shoes to you. But option number 1, do you have gold? No. Option number 2, do you have silver? No. I mean gold, I mean dinar, silver mean dirhams. Number 3 option, do you have wheat? No. Do you have barley? No. Do you have dates? No. Do you have salt? No. If you say no, 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 then he might not need his cotton, because he cannot keep the cotton, because cotton was not a medium of exchange. I'll give you another scenario. All right. You want to buy you want to buy some vegetables. You want to buy some fruits, and then you are bringing your chicken, right? And you are bringing your chicken and you go, I want to buy fruits. Okay, what do you have? You don't have gold, you don't have silver, you don't have wheat, you don't have barley, you don't have dates, you don't have salt. You don't have any of it. You only have chicken. Yeah, akhi, I don't want your chicken because I'm afraid I take your chicken, maybe the chicken will run away, or maybe the chicken will kill itself, or someone will do Bismillah, Allahu Akbar. All right. So what will happen now that there is no warranty or guarantee of this chicken? Unless he likes it, but the chicken cannot become the measurement of the medium of exchange. But look at all this. Dinar, dirhams, you can keep it in your pocket. Wheat, barley, dates, and salt, these things will never ever get spoiled. Look at all these things. It will never get spoiled, number 1. Number 2, you can always store these items. Why vegetables cannot become medium of exchange? Because you cannot store vegetables. How long you can store vegetables? How long you can store fruits? It will get rotted. It will get rotten, and then the things will destruct it itself. Cannot be. And then you cannot keep the livestock. I cannot give you salary as the livestock. For example, you work for me for 1 month, and the end of the month I give you the camel as a wage, as your salary, and then you bring your camel. On the way, your camel passed away, gone. You go your home, and your wife asking, your husband asking, where is your wage? Where is your salary? And then you say, my salary died already. My wage already passed away. How come passed away? Because it was camel. It doesn't make sense, right? So the same thing cannot be. It cannot be, even though in barter exchange, you cannot simply exchange whatever you have. There must be a medium of exchange. So in order to understand this hadith completely, you need to know that these 6 commodities were the medium of exchange at that time. Now let me give you one example, the hadith, that you will clearly understand. When you read this hadith, what I'm saying is actually appropriate to this hadith. Bilal radiallahu anhu came one day with fine quality of dates. Hazrat Bilal, he brought some dates. Prophet ﷺ asked, from where you got this, Bilal? And Bilal said, I had an inferior quality, the low quality, the inferior quality of dates, and I exchanged, I have inferior, the low quality of, maybe let's say 2 sa' means is measurement. Let's say 2 kilo, for example, I paraphrase it. I had a 2 kilo of lower quality of dates, and then I went to the shop, and then I exchanged for 1 kilo of superior quality of the date. Okay, let's say you have ajwa. Ajwa is the superior date, and then you have normal ratab or some other, dates. Prophet ﷺ said, don't do that. Why? Because if you want to do that, then Prophet ﷺ taught him the right way of doing. Prophet said, you had a 2 kilo of a lower quality of the dates, right? Yes. What you do, you bring that 2 kilo of lower quality of date, and then you sell that date to the shop owner. It looks like same, but there must be a transaction. He said, you sell that 2 kilo to someone, and then you take the money, and then you buy another 1 kilo of superior dates with that money. So it seems like, because if you don't understand the background that I told you, and then you, without understanding the background of 6 commodities, you read this hadith, you will be thinking, what exactly happening? Why it is actually Prophet ﷺ said it? So now can I do the same thing now? For example, I have 2 kilo of palm oil, inferior quality. Can I go for 1 kilo of superior quality of palm oil? The answer is yes, because right now the palm oil is actually not your measurement or medium of exchange. Even today, even you can also, according to the Fiqh hadith, you can also do the same thing today with the dates, because dates are no more medium of exchange. Because today we have paper currency. This is how you should understand the hadith according to the time. Because those days, dates were the medium of exchange. Today, you go to any date shops, because we don't buy and sell dates in Malaysia that much. Very few. Especially in Ramadan only we buy dates, right? We're supposed to eat every day. It's a lot of iron. Okay, please go and eat every day at least 7 or 9 pieces, or maybe 20, 30, whatever you like it in the breakfast. It's really good for your health. It gives you iron, blood, and everything. So now we don't actually use it as a medium of exchange, right? So it is actually pretty much, like any other commodity. So the hadith goes to that idea of medium of exchange. That's why Prophet ﷺ said that time, because that time dates were the medium of exchange. So in order to make it right, You do the transaction and then you take the money and then you buy another one, right? Okay. So I think here we are talking about why gold, silver, wheat, barley, only these items. I think according to the uh, according to the ulama, the imams, actually they are saying the what is the illa here? Illa is actually underlying cause, which is actually riba. Okay, all of them is actually commodities that has illa of riba. Fiqh schools of the opinion that the hadith is original application. It is not necessarily confined to these six items, right? Some of the schools they say not necessarily has to be confined to six items. It can go up. For example, if you are in country like Cuba, they have sugar cane. Country like Malaysia, you have palm oil. Like so, there are different countries have different commodities. Yeah, they are saying it can go to another. But what I said is actually kind of understanding that from the background of the hadith. But of course, the other ulama also having a different views, not necessary that everybody is actually saying what I'm saying, but they also have different ideas according to the textbook. I'm just showing you here. You can go through this. Maliki is what? According to my idea, I think Maliki is Malik. I'm with Maliki in this because they are saying all these six items are storability. Because storable. I agree with all these six items can be stored. The Shafi and Hanbali says it is not actually contended that storability. Even the hadith can extend it to all food items. Food items also can come into it. And Hanafis, they come up with the normally sold by weight and measurement. Whatever you weight, you can weight. You can say grams or liters or meters or square feet. Whatever that you can measure, you can do weight. They said anything in that manner can cover this hadith, not only six items. Yeah. So the combined effect of those two hadiths is that when ribawi properties are exchanged against each other, they should be exchanged on equal basis, and any such exchange should be immediate, right? So riba al-Fadl arises when exchanged for an unequal amount of the same commodity, or when amounts are equal, the delivery of one of them is deferred. It has to be on hand to hand on the same place. For example, Usuri is either sell or exchange one measure of wheat for two measures of wheat, or 1 kilo of dates or 2 kilo of dates, or one measures of wheat for two measures of delivery at future periods. So this is what the example are. If the parties are not willing to exchange their commodities such as the dates on equal basis, then one of them should sell his dates, use the money to purchase the dates from the other party. That one, the example that given you in the hadith. Yeah. Okay. Equality is not okay. No problem. I think I will just stop here, and then I will continue from this next class.